For as long as I can remember, I've had problems with anxiety. Pretty much going all the way back to elementary school, right? At the time, you don't really know what to call it, but you kind of just have this underlying sense that you're not doing things right. Things aren't going the way they're supposed to, right? Even if it's not blatantly wrong, right? Even if you're not, I was never the type of kid that was like running around like, doing anything legally crazy or anything like that. I was way too, weak-minded to even approach something that was relatively out of the norm. I was pretty mentally sheltered in that sense. So my anxiety was more so coming from the fact that I knew I wasn't performing up to what all these people were telling me I should be. Right? I have fantastic parents, I had fantastic people around me, right? So they're always very supportive, telling me, you're smart, you're special, you're capable, X, Y, Z. But as a kid, when you go into class, right, your parents tell you you're smart, your friends tell you you're smart, your whatever tells you you're smart, and then you're just getting absolutely dunked on in class. That contrast starts to fuck with you, right? And then, you start trying to do sports, you realize, oh shit, I'm not capable of really performing very well here either, right? But then you're a kid, you're like, well, sports, hanging out with friends in school, like what else really is there, right? And as a kid, I didn't really live in a neighborhood that was particularly close to anybody I actually knew or was friends with. I actually only went to the schools I went to because my mom was a teacher in the system and therefore was kind of able to finagle where exactly I went. So I really never lived anywhere close to where all my friends were, right? So I never really had a huge social system, was never really, out running around with friends. Mostly all my feedback that I was getting on a day-to-day basis was from school, right? And when your only feedback is coming from one source, and it just goes to reason that whatever feedback you're getting from that one source is going to determine your opinion of yourself, right? Because what other factors do you have to go off of, right? I wake up, go to school as a kid, just get absolutely dunked on by my teachers and by my grades all day. And then I come home, do homework. And instead of like hanging out with friends or something, I'm just kind of sitting there, right? Just kind of within my thoughts, right? So that continued to middle school, high school, college. I had all kinds of problems, man. In college, I was being prescribed, everything from Xanax to Zoloft to Vyvanse to Lamictal to this just slew of drugs to try to address a problem that needed to start with me, right? Because at the end of the day, my anxiety came from the fact I felt like I wasn't in control of my life, that I felt like I was just like flying by the seat of my pants, that, whatever, feedback system that the universe gave me, I just kind of took it to the face every day, right? I wasn't actually piloting anything. I was just kind of along for the ride. That's how I felt. Right. And it caused depression, it caused anxiety, it caused, all these different things. I felt weak, I felt incapable, I felt like, all this feedback I'd gotten all my life was just pointing in the same direction, which was that, I wasn't really able to execute anything in particular very well. Right. And I hated that. And I hated myself for it. Right? Because all these things I'd been told in my life, I wasn't lining up with those. Right. All the feedback I'm getting all day is negative. Right? And that's because for all of my life up until the past few years, I've allowed my day to be structured by, whatever life threw at me. Right? I wasn't structuring my day. I wasn't structuring my life. I was allowing my life to structure me. Right? And I don't mean necessarily like waking up at a certain time, working out at a certain time, eating at a certain time. That's fine. You can do that. That's not really what I mean. What I mean is having goals and having a life outside of your main feedback system, right? And for most of us as adults, the main feedback system is going to be your job, right? But if you live your life in a way to where you wake up, you go to work, you roll out of bed, you go to work immediately, you spend all day at work, and then you go home, you just kind of like hang out and eat and go to bed. Well, your only feedback loop is going to be however your day went at work. Let's say you had a shitty day at work, but you sleep in every morning and you just kind of hang out at night, and you're getting a few shitty days in a row at work. Well, the only impact or the only input you have about your life those few days is shittiness, right? Versus what I try to do now, which is, wake up early enough where I spend some time hanging out around my room. I read a little bit of a book that I'm wanting to read. I go on a walk, listen to some podcasts, eat some breakfast, don't eat some breakfast, whatever it is, walk to work. And by that time, I've had a good, hour or so of my day where I've done whatever it is that I want to be working on. And then I go to work. And then I leave work. And then I make sure to work on other things, right? I work out, hang out with my friends, read books, watch videos, hang out with my parents, work on these little things, right? Work on my skills for my job. I make sure that my input that I'm getting throughout the day, whatever it is coming from my life, my choices, I make sure that that input is just as often coming towards me as it is from work, right? What I mean by that is, let's say I wake up and I knock out 20 pages of a book. Boom. That's something that I wanted to do. That's something that I'm working towards. I did that. You can't take that away from me. I listen to 30 minutes of a podcast while I'm walking to work. Cool. I listened to a podcast on a subject matter I wanted to learn about, that I'm interested in. So I'm glad I did that. You can't take that away from me. And then no matter what happens at work, I'm going to leave work. I'm going to listen to another little bit of a podcast on the way home. I enjoy it. I laugh or I learn, depending on what it is. I get home. I eat some great food. I love to cook. You can't take that away from me. All the meals I made, those are mine. I did that. More reading. I love to read. Again, all these books that I finish, that's stuff that I set out to do. You can't take that away from me. And at the end of the day, I'm getting all these positive feedback loops from things that I'm fully in control of, right? Regardless of how my day goes at work, I know I did a good job at the gym. I know I did a great job reading these books. I did a great job advancing my knowledge in whatever podcast I'm listening to. I caught up with my grandma, right? Talked to my parents for a little bit, caught up with my sister, right? Overall, the factors that identify a healthy life, I make sure I'm checking as many of those boxes as I can every single day, as long as I'm in control of those factors, right? You can't always be in control of what happens at work. So don't let work be your only feedback system, man. I talk to people all the time. I've been in the same sales firm for 3 or 4 years now, right? So I see a lot of people come and go. Sales is hard, especially what we're doing. It's a lot of cold calling, right? If you know anything about that, it sucks, right? It's hard. It's just straight up hard. Doesn't matter what you're selling, it's hard, right? So I'll have people all the time that come in. They're so stressed, dude. They're coming in early. They're grinding out work. They're staying late. They're grinding out work. You can just tell they're a ball of fucking stress because they don't have a life outside of work. If your feedback is only coming from your employment, then your employment's going to determine the structure and the mood and the psychology of you, right? You can't let that happen, right? If you got a goal, you want to be more in shape, you want to get a girlfriend, you want to get a boyfriend, you want to write a book, you want to start making YouTube videos, you want to start working on cars, take actionable steps towards that every single day. Nobody can take that from you, right? Get a freaking notebook, get a pencil, get a piece of paper, write down your goal, and then figure out small, tangible steps you can take every single day to get closer to that goal, right? Now, do I have a definite goal in mind every single day when I wake up? Not really, right? I'm not saying that there's a dollar amount I'm shooting for, or there's a house I'm shooting for, or a car I'm shooting for. Of course, there's things I want, right? But I don't mean you need to stress yourself out over having such a tangible goal that it's, a thing that you could Google. That's not really the point. The point is, have actionable steps you take every single day towards being the person you want to be, right? Picture the person you want to be. Picture yourself now. Identify the differences, and every single day, make tangible steps towards that person you want to be. The kind of person I want to be is very successful with their career, is in great shape, and is well-read, and is friendly, right? So I work on being friendly. I work on talking to my family consistently, hanging out with my friends, making sure I'm social. I make sure I crush it at work to the best of my ability. I make sure I take care of my physical health, and I make sure I'm always reading and listening to podcasts on subjects that I care about, right? Because all of those combined are going to, every single day, take me closer and closer to the actualized version of myself, right? And the good thing is, no matter how long you do that, you're never going to be done, right? You're never done being good. You're never done being better, right? And it's definitely not all about money. There's 1,000,001 interviews you can find of rich-ass people saying that, yeah, this doesn't make me happy. It's what I'm able to do now that I'm successful that makes me happy, right? And success doesn't have to do with money, right? Whoever you want to be and whoever you are now, the only difference between those two people are actionable steps that you can take every day, right? And I don't know what particularly made me want to talk about this. I think just, being in the office all the time, I see these people that just seem so stressed out, man. It just makes me so bummed, right? Because I feel I know why they're bummed out, and I know why they're stressed out. It's because they're stuck in a feedback loop that's just, it's just work, right? Not that you don't have to love your job. You really don't. You do not have to love your job. That's not the point of it. But be proud of what you do. Do it to the best of your ability, and make sure that when you're not working, you're structuring your life in a way that's taking you closer to that person you want to be, right? So, yeah, today was a back day, or as pull day, as I like to say, back and buys. Started off with basic warm up, band pulls, chest push. Always get that antagonist muscle warmed up. Antagonist means opposite, so I'm working my back. The antagonist muscle would be my chest. I warmed up my back, warmed up my chest. Upper body was already pretty warmed up. It was a little weird. The weather's been weird here in Charlotte. It's like it's going warm, cold. So all day I was pretty much sweaty. I had a lot of pretty stressful calls at work today. Ended up being good. Ended up closing down a couple deals regardless. But kind of already had a sweaty day, literally. So didn't really need to do too much warming up. Hit the lats, hit the chest. Hit some good band-assisted pull-ups. Love those. Hit some weighted barbell rows. Hit some squatted rows. And then I did 2 good bicep exercises, right? The standing barbell curl. And before anybody says shit about it, I asked every single person in that room if they plan on using that rack. They all said no. And so you'll notice with those bicep curls too, right? My elbow's completely steady. Obviously it is with this because it's up against the pad, but those standing barbell curls, the reason I flashed up that picture of the easy curl is because when I do curls, that's what I picture. I picture that I have something behind my elbows physically preventing them from moving, right? Because guess what? If you're doing a curl and your elbow's moving whatsoever, that's every degree that your elbow moves is a degree less that you're using your bicep. Right, so you'll notice when you go back to those barbell curls, every time I engage that curl, when you can see my bicep, the first second it engages, I freeze my elbow. So that no matter how much it sucks for me to grind that rep out, that's what I got to do. Right, and then this is obvious stuff. This is just seated bicep. This is just for burnout. The weight's not too crazy, but by this time my biceps are pretty toasted, so I'm pretty much, you can see it in my face. This is not even a heavy weight at all, but if you really isolate that bicep, those are not easy. Do selfie 1, do selfie 2. Lats looking good. Love you.